What's up guys, Rogue9 here. It's time to explore some more of the least used weapons in Battlefield 1, and today we'll be spamming some grenades. Hooray, let's do it! Are you playing Battlefield 1 on an old potato instead of a cutting-edge $4,000 PC? Maybe you have a mediocre internet connection and your girlfriend is constantly watching Netflix. Or maybe you even just play the game for fun, now and then, instead of finally getting yourself the shit bucket you should have invested in ages ago to make sure that you can spend every waking moment playing Battlefield 1. If any of these disadvantages apply to you, you will know firsthand that coming up against a hardened veteran can mean you have a lot less fun in the game rather quickly. But fear not, because Battlefield 1 has a great equalizer: hand grenades. Throwing these fun little packages of steel and explosive around as if they were candy at a German carnival parade can allow even the most casual of casual players to have some moderate success in the game. And of course, conversely, being on the receiving end of a torrent of hand grenades is probably one of the greatest frustrations that any player can experience in the game right now. But which types of grenades are the most popular, which ones are the least used, and should you maybe be using these somewhat more? Let's try to answer these questions by looking at the percentage of grenades thrown by type on the 6th of April 2017. As you might have guessed, the standard frag grenade is by far the most popular, with 43.3% of all grenades thrown belonging to this type. 24.1% of the grenades used were gas grenades, and this is down from a relatively stable 30% prior to the release of the They Shall Not Pass DLC, since with that update the number of gas grenades, smoke grenades and mini grenades were reduced from 2 to 1. 13.2% of the grenades used were incendiary grenades, 7.8% were light anti-tank grenades, although it's worth mentioning here that probably a considerable number of those light anti-tank grenades were thrown by people playing the cavalry class, and it might be argued that if you had a choice of grenade for the cavalry class as you do for other classes, we might see a considerably lower usage of the light anti-tank grenade, but it is what it is. One step down from there we have the impact grenades, which formed 6.1% of all grenades thrown. Then we have smoke grenades with 1.7%, and last but hopefully not least, we have the mini grenade with a less than stellar 0.6% of all grenades thrown. So it seems like players really don't like the mini grenades. But is this opinion justified? Let's find out by first taking a closer look at how the grenades in Battlefield 1 work precisely, before taking the mini grenades out for some good old field testing so that we can form a balanced opinion based on analysis of the stats as well as experience using the weapon. First, let's look at the damage stats of all 7 types of grenades. As you can see, the frag grenade will do up to 100 points of damage, which makes this the only type of grenade that can instantly kill a full health opponent. The mini and impact grenades will both cause up to 72 points of damage, while the light anti-tank grenade can injure enemy infantry for up to 80 points of damage. All 4 of these types of grenades are explosive grenades, so the damage is caused instantly as soon as they go off. The incendiary grenade and the gas grenade are somewhat different in that they are area of effect grenades that will cause damage to your opponent over a given time. Incendiary grenades will cause 10 points of damage every half second for a duration of 7.2 seconds, while the gas grenade causes 15 points of damage per second for 15 seconds. The smoke grenade is not an offensive weapon per se, so it causes no damage, but instead provides visual cover for you and your teammates. The smoke screen emitted by the grenades will remain at full thickness for up to 13 seconds, and will then start gradually thinning out before it finally disappears fully at around 18 seconds. Another important factor to consider when thinking about the effectiveness of the different types of grenades is their area of effect. Frag grenades will do their full damage in a radius of up to 1.75 meters, after which their damage capability is gradually reduced up to a point of 7 meters where they will no longer damage the enemy. Mini grenades and impact grenades will do their full 72 points of damage up to a radius of 2 meters, and at a radius of 6 meters and beyond the damage is 0. Against enemy infantrymen, the light AT grenade will do its 80 points of damage up to 1.5 meters away, and it will hit 0 at 6 meters. Incendiary grenades have an area of effect of 2.2 meters, and gas grenades 5 meters. Since smoke grenades don't do any damage, they don't have a damage area of effect. If we combine the max damage data with the area of effect information, we end up with a graph that looks something like this. As you can see, the frag grenade's high max damage puts it head and shoulders above the other grenades, while the light anti-tank grenade, the mini grenade and the impact grenade essentially cause the exact same damage from 2 meters distance and onwards. I've included the incendiary and gas grenades as well, although of course they work slightly differently, causing small damage over longer time rather than the instantaneous full damage of the other explosive grenades. For the incendiary and the gas grenade, the damage shown in this graph is caused once per second. Moving on, I would like to look at the gravity that affects each of the different types of grenades. As you can see, the frag grenade, impact grenade, light anti-tank grenade and smoke grenade are all affected by a gravity of 9.8 or 9.81 Newton per kilogram or 9.81 meters per second squared, which is the acceleration of the Earth's gravitational field. What does this mean? Well, these 4 types of grenades experience the normal baseline gravity that we would also find on Earth, like in real life, but as you can see, the other 3 types of grenades experience a slightly different gravity. Incendiary grenades in Battlefield 1 accelerate towards the ground at 10 meters per second squared, and gas grenades accelerate at 11 meters per second squared. What does this mean in practical terms when you're playing the game? Well, you simply can't throw them quite as far. But of course the difference is not that great. I mean, 9.8 or 10 meters per second squared, it's not a massive difference, and even the 11 meters per second squared for the gas grenade isn't a huge difference. For the mini grenade, on the other hand, we can see that the gravity is only 7 meters per second squared, which is quite considerably lower than for all the other grenades. And this is the mini grenade's key advantage. It sacrifices some of the power that you get with the normal frag grenade, but in return you can throw it considerably further. Another advantage of the mini grenade over many of the other grenades is its resupply timer. As you may know, since the They Shall Not Pass DLC update, grenades replenish automatically over time. As you can see, for most of the grenades, this time is 36 seconds, but for the mini grenade it's 24 seconds, for the gas grenade it's 27, and for the smoke grenade it's only 18 seconds. For the smoke grenade, this is especially relevant since you may remember the duration of the smoke is up to 18 seconds until the smoke is completely dissipated. So if you throw a smoke grenade, by the time the smoke clears, you will already have another one ready to go. These resupply timers can be cut down to a third though if you're near an ammo crate. Those are the times you can see in the second row. And here we have the same thing, of course. It's the smoke, mini and gas grenades that really shine. The next criteria I want to look at is the delay timer on each of these grenades and how the grenades are triggered. Now, in real life, of course, almost all of these grenades would have been triggered by the user either by letting go of a spring-loaded spoon or by pulling on a cord. Once this happened, a timed fuse within the grenade would burn down and eventually set off the device. But as you may know, this is not how grenades work in Battlefield 1. Even though all of the different types of grenades do have their individual timers, as you can see, most of them are triggered once they hit the floor. There are only 2 exceptions to this, the impact grenade and the light AT grenade. They are the only 2 types of grenades that are able to explode mid-air, and their timers start running down after the grenade has impacted any surface. So for most of the grenades, if you bounce them off a wall, the timer won't actually start running down until the grenade lands on the floor, but especially with the impact grenades, due to their short timer, if you're in a building and you know there's an enemy through a doorway in the next room, you can throw this impact grenade at the wall, it will bounce off and then explode pretty much in the guy's face. With the light AT grenades, even though they work in the same way, because the timer is 2.2 seconds, they tend to land on the floor anyway before going off. But of course the light anti-tank grenade has the advantage of detonating instantly once thrown at a vehicle. This is unique to the light AT grenade and no other grenades will do this. So I know this is a bit complex, but I hope that kind of makes sense. Now let's look at the actual timers themselves. The smoke grenade, as you can see, is the fastest to initiate with about 0.67 seconds delay time. Next up is the impact grenade, which explodes 1.2 seconds after impacting any surface. The gas grenade detonates actually almost immediately after hitting the floor after about 0.38 seconds, but since the tick rate of the damage for the gas is once per second, your enemy won't actually start taking any damage until about 1.38 seconds after the grenade lands on the floor. The same concept applies to the incendiary grenade. It goes off after about a second of being on the floor, but the first damage is incurred after about 1.5 seconds. Finally, we have the frag grenade and the mini grenade, which go off after about 1.75 seconds of being on the floor, and the light AT grenade, which goes off 2.2 seconds after bouncing off of any surface, with the exception of directly hitting vehicles as mentioned before. Now, I couldn't actually find these numbers in the code itself, so I found them by testing in-game. The numbers might not be perfectly accurate, especially once we get down to the hundredth of a second, but I think they are more than accurate enough to illustrate what's important here. The light AT grenade is not great for use against infantry due to its long delay timer. Frag grenades and mini grenades can give your enemy enough time to get out of the way if they're aware of the grenade coming in, while impact grenades have the strong advantage of giving your enemy very little time to evade them. Incendiary and gas grenades go off quite quickly, but because the damage they do is spread out over time, it can still be quite difficult to get kills with them. But that's okay really, since the intention for these two grenades is to force your enemy to react, either to get out of the way of the incendiary grenade or to put on a gas mask, which can give you and your teammates a chance to get up close and take out the enemy while they're distracted. Used in a defensive way, these two types of grenades can also be excellent since they can block the path of an advancing enemy for several seconds. And finally, the smoke grenade initiates quite quickly, but do keep in mind that it takes a little bit of time, about 2 or 3 seconds, for the smoke cloud to reach its maximum thickness. But since the smoke grenade doesn't actually do any damage, I'm giving the time to initiation rather than the time to first damage, since it just doesn't make any sense. And that is almost it for our grenade stats. There's only one last thing to mention, and that is that the frag grenade and the light AT grenade have the added benefit of being able to destroy some light cover and obstacles. Things like wooden doors, wooden walls, sandbags, and even barbed wire can be destroyed by these grenades, which is great if you have enemies hiding behind them. Not only will the grenades hopefully do a little bit of damage to your enemy, but destroying their cover can also mean that they become exposed to either your or your teammates' fire. Being able to destroy some barbed wire can also be very beneficial. The other lighter grenades, like the mini grenade, the impact grenade, the incendiary, and of course the gas and smoke grenade, are too weak to destroy the environment, so there's another thing to think about. So what does all of this mean for our plucky little mini grenade? It has two key advantages. Number one, it can be thrown much further than any of the other grenades, and at 24/8 seconds it has one of the shortest resupply timers, making it a full third quicker than most of the other grenades. These advantages are balanced out by a relatively slow time to detonation and a reduced killing power with a max damage of 72 points and a max range of 6 meters. And of course now the million-dollar question is this grenade as bad as everyone thinks it is, or does it maybe deserve a little bit more than its 0.6% usage share? And as always, I've been field testing the weapon for a while to make up my final opinion. And I have to say, to me, it feels like the key advantage of the mini grenades, being able to throw them further, feels like an answer to a question that nobody's asking. In all of the time that I've spent playing Battlefield, the number of times I've been in a situation where I thought, I wish I could just throw this grenade a little bit further, is pretty much zero. Most of the combat in Battlefield 1 takes place outside, and there you can just increase the arc of your grenade throw to get the distance you need. The only time where mini grenades actually felt useful was indoors. If you're in one of the bunkers in Verdun Heights or you're in Fort de Vaux, you just might come across a situation where you're at the end of a long corridor with a relatively low ceiling, and that doesn't allow you to get the full arc on your regular frag grenade. And as you can probably tell, that already is a really hypothetical situation that may or may not really ever occur for anyone. For me personally, if I was ever going to sacrifice the outright killing power of the frag grenade, then the impact grenade or even the AT grenade have additional benefits that are far more useful than the mini grenade. And even though the flame, gas or smoke grenades don't really have all that much outright killing power, their capability of disrupting or blocking the enemy is still far more useful in my eyes than the additional throw distance of the mini grenade. All in all, the mini grenade to me just felt like a glorified firecracker. It goes off with a weak little bang that will not destroy cover and will hardly disrupt and hardly even injure your enemies. I mean, look, even the grenade symbol is that of a bang snap instead of that of an actual grenade. Sadly, for me, the conclusion is that yes, the mini grenade really does deserve the lack of attention it gets from the Battlefield 1 community because its downsides just so heavily outweigh the benefits. But as always guys, that is just my personal impression and my personal experience with the weapon. If you've had a go at these oversized children's fireworks, let me know what you thought of them by leaving a comment below. And just like that, the video is done. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next episode.